Mamoru Chiba from Sailor Moon. Most anime fans remember him as Usagi's love interest, the cool, mysterious guy in the tuxedo. But before all that romantic tension, there's a version of his story where he meets his end in one of the most absurdly preventable ways imaginable. In the original manga continuity, a simple car accident on a rainy night is what kicks off his entire tragic backstory. No dramatic villain reveal, no climactic battle, just a wet road and bad timing. The fact that such an ordinary, mundane event sets the stage for an entire supernatural saga is the kind of tonal whiplash that anime does better than any other medium on the planet. Sasha Braus from Attack on Titan. She's one of the most beloved characters in the entire series. A girl who survived literal titans, military training, and years of active combat in one of the most brutal fictional worlds ever created. And then she gets shot by a kid on an airship after the battle was essentially over. The whole moment lands like a punchline with a gut punch attached. The show had spent so long building her up as this scrappy, lovable survivor that when it actually happened, audiences genuinely didn't believe it at first. Some fans thought it was a fake-out. It wasn't. The sheer contrast between the threats she'd already conquered and the way she actually went out made it one of the most talked about deaths in anime history. Mumen Rider from One Punch Man. Okay, technically he doesn't die in the main continuity, but the spirit of his entire existence is so gloriously absurd that he earns a mention here. He's a hero with zero superpowers. His hero name literally translates to unlicensed rider. He rides a bicycle against monsters that can level city blocks. Every single time he shows up, he's walking into a situation where his death should be statistically guaranteed. The comedy of his survival isn't just funny, it's genuinely bizarre. The show has built an entire recurring gag around the fact that this completely ordinary man keeps almost dying in the most ridiculous circumstances possible and somehow pedals away to fight another day. Caesar Zeppeli from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. His death is genuinely one of the most operatic, dramatic, beautiful sequences in the entire franchise, which makes the actual cause of it almost comedic in retrospect. He sacrifices himself against a villain who is, at its core, just a really powerful guy with weird bubble powers. In a series that eventually features reality-bending time stops, alternate universes, and enemies made of pure memory, Caesar's final chapter involves a stone column and a bubble. His death is treated with the full weight of a Shakespearean tragedy, complete with a sunset and a blood bubble floating into the light. The disconnect between the grandeur of the presentation and the technical simplicity of what actually happened is JoJo energy. Menchi from Hunter x Hunter. She appears during the Hunter exam arc as one of the examiners designed to select the world's most elite combatants. Her specific requirement is that candidates cook her a dish that she personally finds delicious. If she doesn't like it, you fail. That's it. That's the whole test. Several candidates are essentially eliminated from one of the most prestigious competitive exams in the world because a woman didn't enjoy their sushi. No one dies from it directly, but the sheer bureaucratic absurdity of the situation is its own kind of narrative death. The way it's played completely straight makes it even better. Whitebeard from One Piece. He's one of the most powerful characters in the entire series. A man literally described as the strongest in the world. His final stand is one of the most epic sequences in shonen anime. A dying giant holding back an entire navy. And yet the actual moment he falls involves him standing upright, even after sustaining wounds that would have instantly killed anyone else, which the narrator helpfully informs us is medically impossible, and then just stopping. He doesn't get taken out by a brilliant strategy. He doesn't lose a battle of wills. His body simply runs out of time. After all that buildup, all that mythology, the most powerful man alive is ultimately defeated by biology. It's simultaneously the most badass and most mundane ending imaginable. Slaine Troyard from All Noah Zero. His entire arc across the series is a slow, grinding tragedy. A kid who starts with genuine idealism and gets systematically crushed by every decision he makes. But the ending he receives is so anticlimactic compared to the chaos he helped create that it borders on absurdist. After everything, after wars and political intrigue and betrayal, he ends up in a prison playing chess alone for the rest of his life. The show frames this as appropriate, almost peaceful, but when you trace the trajectory of everything he went through to arrive at that room, at that chessboard, there's a profound ridiculousness to the scale mismatch. He moved nations. He moved fleets. His final opponent is a chessboard. Lelouch v. Britannia from Code Geass. The man orchestrated the fall of a global empire, manipulated every major political faction on the planet, and engineered his own assassination as the final act of a plan to create world peace. He designed his own death. He choreographed it. He picked the costume, set the stage, and handed the sword to his best friend. As a finale, it's genuinely brilliant. But when you step back and describe it plainly, what you have is a guy who got so deep into his own plan that literally dying was the only logical exit strategy he could come up with. The absurdity isn't in the moment itself. It's in the fact that he considered this the most reasonable available option. Goku from Dragon Ball Z. Not just once, multiple times. He dies from a heart virus that has nothing to do with any villain. He dies by letting his brother crush him. He chooses not to be revived at various points because he decides the Earth will be safer without him, which his family takes reasonably well, all things considered. He is the main character of one of the most combat-focused series in history, a man who has fought gods, and some of his most significant departures from the story involve heart disease and self-imposed exile. The Dragon Balls do make death less permanent in his universe, but that almost makes it worse. He has access to a literal resurrection cheat code and still manages to find creative new ways to remove himself from the living world. The character exists in a unique comedic space where mortality applies to him selectively, and often for deeply unimpressive reasons.
Rengoku Kyojuro from Demon Slayer. His death is devastating and beautifully animated and emotionally earned. The reason it earns a place here is the context surrounding it. He fights a demon who has lived for centuries, who has killed countless soldiers, who represents one of the most powerful threats in the entire series. Rengoku matches him completely, holds his own through an entire night battle, and loses because the sun came up. His opponent literally just ran away when it got light outside. All of that power, all of that sacrifice, and the deciding factor was essentially a scheduling conflict. Dawn won the fight. The tragedy is real, but the cosmic irony of it is something the show seems almost deliberately aware of. Dio Brando from JoJo's Bizarre Adventure. He's one of anime's most iconic villains, a centuries-old vampire who can stop time, who has survived being decapitated, who has spent 100 years planning from the bottom of the ocean. His final defeat involves an angry teenager figuring out that you can use road rollers as a weapon, and then punching through the time stop. That's the plan that works. That's what brings down the eternal vampire strategist. A road roller and some very determined punching. The show commits to this completely, plays it with full dramatic sincerity, and somehow it works. But removed from context, it reads like the setup to a joke. The gap between how seriously Dio takes himself and how he actually gets defeated is one of anime's great comedic gifts.